Hello, traders. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you. Let's quickly confirm we are all on the same page. So what we are going to do right now is to type in a hi in the comment section. If you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly. Okay, I need some response so that we can confirm we are all on the same page. So like I said, if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section. So let's see what we have here. All right, good morning. Thank you. Hellos, good morning to you. Um, 951, good morning. Thank you for that confirmation. And 097, good morning. Oh, Carrie, good morning to you. Thank you for that confirmation. 892, yeah, we are winners. Good morning. Thank God it's Friday. All right, so that's good. I think we're all on the same page. So I welcome you to yet another promising session on Extreme Speed Live, hosted by myself, Sharif Daramola. And as usual, I will be taking you on a trading journey in the next 1 hour, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us during the New York session today. And it's also important I state here that today is the last day of the trading week, and peculiar with the last trading day of the week, we want to be rounding off on our open position or locking some profit um, and during the New York session today. And also, we are going to be looking at the pairs we've been monitoring since Monday. We are going to be looking at how well these pairs are doing, and if there are any suggestions or advices, I will be sharing it during the course of the session. So, my advice to you is to stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of these opportunities that I might be dishing out during the course of the session. So without further ado, let's dive into the chart and let's see what is really going on in the market. So the first pair we are going to be looking at today is definitely going to be the US oil as usual, and let's see what is really happening in this market. Well, we have a scenario since the beginning of the week where price has consistently trended right below the $86 mark. As we can see, every attempt by the buyers to push price right above the $86 level has been met with a very strong resistance from the sellers, and this is giving us a clue that the sellers at this point in the market is really very strong. However, during the course of our live session yesterday, we were able to identify this reversal pattern around this area after price came within this level on Monday. I think on Tuesday stroke Wednesday, we saw this impulsive move, which looked more like a bearish signal at this point. But because of the fact that I saw this double bottom structure here with a breakout of the neckline at the $84 area, we begin to think of a bullish momentum. However, during the course of the live session yesterday, I shared with you how I took advantage of this move right into the key level at the $86 area, after which we moved our stop loss to lock in some profit. However, what happened in the last 24 hours was quite interesting, as we saw price climb right back into our entry zone and even went as far as breaking right below that entry level into the neckline area at the $84 mark. And as you can see what is happening right now, price appears to have broken down the $84 area. So on the US oil for this week, if you had missed out on this bearish move that broke down the $85 level, which broke out of the channel that started this week at, well, if you had missed that move, you will probably be in a break-even position at this time. However, something interesting happened when I opened the chart here this morning. I noticed that how come I missed out on this bearish move, because I missed this move right to the downside, and I think I was caught up with the idea of this reversal pattern that we had here, and I missed that move. I should have considered the fact that price has been trending right below the $86 level, giving us a clue of how strong the sellers are at this point in the market. And one thing also happened during the early hours of today was the breakdown of this bullish trend line, which I actually missed as well, as we saw price breakdown, do a retest of that structure, leading price right below the $84 level. So with this current information we have at this point in the market, how do we intend to trade the US oil as we head into the New York session today? Well, in order to answer that, let's quickly look at what is happening on the daily time frame. Let's have an holistic view of what really is going on in this market, after which we are going to be coming back into this 1 hour time frame to make an informed decision in that regard. So scaling up into the daily time frame, let's quickly look at what we've been looking at since the beginning of the week and what has been um, adding to the ideas that we are looking for to a bullish momentum. So look at what has been happening here on the daily time frame. You can see that price has been on a strong bullish momentum since in the last 2 years here. And as a result of this, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line. And if we zoom into the current structure here, we can see that price has been respecting that bullish trend line in the last 1 month now. I think over a month thereabout, we can see every time price climbs right above that bullish trend line, when it comes back into that area, we start seeing reversal pattern coming in from that point, giving us a clue that the buyers are still very strong in this market on a long-term perspective. Now, in addition to this bullish trend line that I was able to identify here, we can see that since the month of June, we saw our price has consistently found lower lows and lower highs, leading into a situation where price collapsed right back into the bullish trend line, where we start seeing situation that will be supporting a bullish continuation pattern at the breakout of that bearish trend line. And as a result of the lower lows and lower highs, we were able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us this resultant bearish trend line. And if we look at what happened here 2 weeks ago, it was a huge significant breakout of that bearish trend line. And if we look at what happened here, we can see that the breakout of the bearish trend line also lines up with a very important key level we identified at the $86 mark. So we had a key level here. And if we look into how this level has been, our participants in this market has been relating to this level, you will notice that this level has been a major determinant of price action in the past. So with the current structure we have here, and looking at it from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakout of a structure like this, remember I told you the structure was broken to the upside. Whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this, what do we expect? We expect that price is likely going to come back, do a retest of structure, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. So in the last 10 days now, I think 8 to 10 days now, we have been witnessing this retracement move. As soon as price tested the $93.50 level, we started seeing this retracement move right to the downside. Although we took advantage of this move last week, and we are waiting to see how far this retracement move is going to go. And at the beginning of the week, we saw a sharp rejection of that bearish trend line. Remember I told you this bearish trend line. I went to open my book. Okay, so I remember I told you that this bearish trend line was broken to the upside here, and during the early days of this week, we saw a very sharp rejection of that key level, which also pushed price to the upside at that point, giving us further emphasizing the possibility that buyers could be coming in from this area. And now with the information we have gathered here on the daily time frame, we really want to see what is really happening below the $86 level. As you can see, since the later part of last week, price has been trading right below the $86 mark. And one thing we have here looks more like a consolidation phase, as price has continued to juxtapose between the $86 level and the $82 area. So we really want to see what is really going on at this point. So the only way we can see what is really going on here is to scale down to the lower time frame. So on the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, we begin to see, let's go to the 4 hours, let's see what is really happening there. So on the 4 hours time frame, first of all, let's see if we can identify a structure around this area. So on the 4 hours time frame, well, we saw that at the beginning of the week, price was consolidating right within the $86 level and the $85 area. So we saw our price was doing a consolidation phase here, giving us a clue into the indecision at this market, as we wanted to be patient to see where price will be heading. And the only way we could know is if price breaks out of that structure or breaks down of that structure. And what happened actually on Tuesday was quite impressive, as we saw the significant bearish move that took price right back into the $82 mark. And with that being said, after citing that breakdown of structure, from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown of a structure, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure, which is exactly what has happened here. Price has rejected the $86 level one more time, and we can see that we had engulfing candle that took price right to the downside. And one thing that makes this whole scenario very complicated at the beginning of the week was more or less this reversal pattern that we identified here. And if you look at the structure we have here, we can see that the structure evolved into a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And we saw the breakout of the neckline at the $84 mark, and we said, okay, fine, if price comes back to do a retest of the neckline, we will be looking forward to patterns that will be supporting a trend continuation on the lower time frame to join the trend continuation to the upside. So look at what has been happening here. As a result of this neckline area at the $84 mark, what we did was to identify a buy zone around this area. So we have identified a buy zone around this area, and if we look at what is happening here since Wednesday, we can see that there has been buying pressure around the $84 mark. And look at what happened here. We can see sharp rejection. We saw one here, we saw another one here, though we saw another huge hammer candle here. We saw the sharp rejection. It shows us that the buyers, as there are still traces of buying pressure in this market. So this is more or less a very dicey scenario, a very ambiguous scenario. And the reason why that is, one, we have this $86 level, which is a very significant level which we identified on the daily time frame. And we can see since the beginning of the week, price has been trading right below the $86 mark. And because price has been trading below the $86 mark, we want to be thinking of a bullish momentum, of a bearish momentum, obviously. But the evolution into a reversal pattern here makes us to make a rethink of what is really happening around this area, and price coming back to do a retest of the neckline at the $84 level is a sign that we might be having a situation that might be leading to a trend continuation to the upside. So we really need to be very careful of how we want to be trading this one. So going into the New York session today, what are the things we want to be looking out for to make a decision on this pair? Now, look at what has been happening since on Tuesdays when price came back into the $82 level, where it evolved into that reversal pattern here. After looking at the structure here, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us this temporary bullish trend line. And with this temporary bullish trend line, what we want to be thinking of right now is that, okay, is price going to continue to respect this bullish trend line? So since the beginning of the week, that is on Tuesday, we saw the first touch, we saw the second touch around here, and we've been seeing multiple rejection before we finally saw the breakdown of that bullish trend line during the early hours of today. So from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown of a structure, obviously we expect that price is likely going to continue to the downside at this point, as we might be looking forward to a retest to structure that will be giving us a confirmation to join the decline to the downside. So all these scenarios I've explained here is more or less from a technical standpoint. So we're going into the New York session today. What do we do? How do we trade this? Are we going to be seeing a bullish momentum from the neckline here to push price to the upside, or are we going to be seeing a breakdown of this neckline that might be inciting a trend continuation to the downside? So in order to have a better perspective into what our expectation is going to be like for today, let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame. So on the 1 hour time frame, what can we see here on the 1 hour time frame? Look at the structure we have here. So on the 1 hour time frame, we already have that significant breakdown of that bullish trend line that we identified on the daily time frame. And from a technical standpoint, we want to see a retest of structure to join the decline to the downside here. So if that happens, then the buy zone here will become invalid. So how do we do this now? So are we going to be waiting for price to come back into this bullish trend line to retest it, after which we look out for selling pressure that will be supporting a trend continuation to the downside? So that is one scenario. So what if price does not come back into this bullish trend line? So what if price does not come back into the bullish trend line? Where do we want to be looking at? Well, look at the $84 mark here. We can see we had a breakdown of that $84 level, and price appears to have come back to do a retest of that structure. So is this going to turn out to be a selling pressure? That is, we have a situation where selling pressure coming here, or probably we have a reversal pattern from that area that will be supporting a trend continuation to the downside? Or is it going to turn out to be a situation where price climbs up, does a rejection of this level, evolving into buying pressure that will be sending price to the upside? So you can see now that the $84 level is a very significant parameter that we want to be using to guide our action for the New York session today. So what I'll be advising at this point is that anywhere right below the $84 mark looks more promising to be selling this. So if we are going to be selling around that area, please and please, we move our take profit target to line up with this trend line. Remember, there's the trend line that was broken 2 weeks ago on the daily time frame, and also it was retested during the early days of this week, and which incited that bullish momentum that we saw. So we want to be having our take profit target somewhere around the $81 mark at the meantime. And as soon as price comes into this demand zone level, that is, if we sell and price comes within this demand zone level, we want to move our stop loss to either break even or lock in some profit so that we don't get caught up in any situation that will be pushing price to the upside. And the reason why that is simply because of this demand zone that we have here. So we might be seeing a situation where price comes back into this area, rejects it, and continue to the upside, or we could see a breakdown of that structure, confirming that the sellers are still very strong, after which a retest of structure will give us a confirmation to add more position to our trade. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to at this point. So let's look out for selling right below the $84 mark. So if price comes right below the $84 mark, we want to be selling the US oil. However, even though we're expecting that bearish momentum, we cannot ignore the fact that the bullish momentum is very, very likely to happen at this point. Remember, we said something about the decision of the OPEC Plus 2 weeks ago to cut oil production, and we saw the traces of that effect during last week. We saw bullish momentum last week on the US oil, and we're still expecting the second phase to happen. So we don't know how price is going to relate to the $84 mark, which is possibly going to send price to the upside. So we want to keep an open mind on this one. Let's see what is really going to happen around the $84 mark during the New York session today. So if we have price come below the $84 area, we want to be looking for selling opportunities. And as soon as price comes within the $82 mark, we want to lock in some profit or move our stop loss to break even at this point. So this is how we intend to trade this. And if price climbs up, we want to buy and then move our stop loss accordingly as price moves up in our direction. And if we finally have a breakout of the $86 level, then we want to be comfortable in our buy position, after which a retest of structure happens, then we add more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the US oil. If you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So that is that on the US oil. So if you have questions, let me know in the comment section, and if there are none, we'll just move on to the next pair. So what do we have here? Okay, so we have 603 in the house. Good morning, 603. Good morning, Victor Rover. Trust you're doing well. And then Banju 4547. Good morning. All right. Okay. So Okay, so can we see? Okay, let's see. One morning, Rocky. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next pair in the absence of no questions here. So I want to assume that my explanations was quite very explanatory. So let's move on to the next pair. On the next pair we are going to be looking at is the US tech. And on the US tech yesterday, we've been expecting that price is going to be going to the upside considering the bullish momentum we took advantage at the beginning of the week. Remember, we took advantage of this bullish momentum at the beginning of the week, and we were able to make over for how many pips, that is over 500 pips, 540 pips at the beginning of the week. And as soon as price got into the $11,300 level, we started seeing selling pressure around this area, and that gave us a clue that we might be having a retracement of this impulsive move that started this week with. So because of this situation that we saw here, that is, we started seeing reversal pattern here, I was able to tell you on Tuesday that if a breakdown retest of the $11,200 level happens, you might want to be taking advantage of that counter trend trade. And if you are not, I said this, if we have a breakdown retest of the 11,200, you might want to be taking advantage of that counter trend trade. We gave about 200 pips, I guess. And then I said that if you are not comfortable taking counter trend trades, then we want to wait for price action to come within our buy zone area, where we want to be looking forward to buying opportunities from this level to push price to the upside. And as at yesterday, we identified a reversal pattern here. I think I've deleted the neckline at this point after seeing what is happening presently. So we had the structure, we had this double bottom structure during our live session yesterday. So we were around this area during the live session. We saw the breakout of this neckline. Price came back to do a retest of his neckline, and we saw this huge move that took price right into the $11,280 area. So if you are taking that move yesterday, kudos to you, and I'm sure you protected your position as price moved over 200 pips in our direction. Whatever the case might be, we saw that price came back into our entry point, but I'm sure you would have taken some profit at one point in time, if not 100 or probably around 50, 70 pips thereabout on this one. So as we can see right now, price has come back into our entry zone, which also lines up with the buy zone we identified at the beginning of the week. So as we head into the New York session today, what is going to be our plan here? Are we going to see a situation where price will continue to go to the downside? As we can see, we have a bearish momentum. As soon as price rejected the $11,270 area, we started seeing bearish momentum pushing price to the downside. And even though price is right within our buy zone area here, I was able to identify a structure at around the 11,000 mark, which is a very strong psychological level considering the round figure of this price. So we can see that price, we saw buying pressures right around the $11,000 area during the course of yesterday's trading session. And as at the later part of yesterday's trading session, I think during the Asian session, we saw a breakdown of the $11,000 area. We saw multiple tests of that level, giving us a clue that sellers are likely coming in at this point. So even though we are within a very strong buy zone, that we are looking forward to a buy zone around that area, that is a retest of that impulsive move that started this week with, well, I want us to be patient right now and see, let's see how price action is going to relate to the current structure that we have here. So if at any point in time we've already seen a retest, we've already seen a breakdown of that 11,000 mark. So right now I'm not sure if price will continue to trade to the downside at this point. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, I can't really find a structure to play around with here. But if we look at the 15 minutes time frame, let's see what is going on the 15 minutes time frame. So on the 15 minutes time frame, I'm still seeing buying pressure here. Look at how the rejection of this buy zone has been since the beginning of today. So we saw sharp rejection. Can you see sharp rejection here? Can you see sharp rejection here? So I'm still mindful of taking any sell position here, even though we saw that we saw that uh, bearish impulsive move in the last 24 hours. So I'm still very mindful of taking any sell position. Hold on a second. I'm trying to delete this. Okay, so let's delete this. So I'm still mindful of taking L in sell position here, but one thing you'll notice here on the 15 minutes time frame is that, and this one I want to identify here is for scalpers, for those who are comfortable taking scalping. So we have somewhere right below the $10,950 area. So if you are keen of selling the US tech, you can sell and then have your take profit target right around the $10,750 area. And why did I say $10,750 area? I will show you that in a moment. So let's go to the 1 hour time frame. So on the 1 hour time frame, we saw our price started the week. Price started the week at below the 10,750. That is around the $10,650 level. We saw our price started this week, got into a consolidation phase before the breakout retest of the $10,750 happened. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of structure like this, we expect that price at one point in time is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure, which might likely come in the shape breakout retest of that structure, looking out for patterns to join the rally to the upside. So like I showed you on the 15 minutes time frame, for those who can take scalp counter trend trades or probably scalping, if you sell right below the $10,950 level, you want to have your take profit target somewhere around the $10,750, and let's see how price action is going to relate to the structure in order to make further decision on the US tech. So let's see how many pips that will give you. If you're doing a counter trend trade on this one, this will give around 180 pips thereabout, and let's see how that moves. But if you're for those who are still waiting for this buy momentum, I would suggest that we will remain patient and see how price action is going to relate with these two structures here. That is one here at the 10,750 and one here at the $11,000 level. So how do we intend to buy? We expect that if price comes here, we see buying pressure, we buy from there, or we see wait for price to break right above the $11,000 level, retest of that structure with buying pressures on lower time frame, then we can join the rally to the upside. So that is how I intend to buy the US tech. So for me personally, I am waiting for price to give me that bullish structure to join the potential rally on the US tech. So that is that on the US tech. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. Okay, so that is that on the US tech. So let's move on to the next pair. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the XAUUSD, which is the gold. And for the gold, we were able to hit our take profit target yesterday. Hold on a second. Let me bring out our gold charts, the XAUUSD. So this is the XAUUSD, and remember we took advantage of a bull. We started the week on a bullish note. Remember, we saw this. Hold on a second. Let me delete this so that we can have a clean chart. So we have this, and then we saw since the beginning of the week, we saw our price respected the demand zone here at around the $1,640 level one more time to push price to the upside. And in fact, we took advantage of that move at the beginning of the week as price moved. Let me see again. Price moved about 2,000 pips in our favor before we started seeing that bearish momentum taking over the market again. And we moved our stop loss to protect our positions anyway, so we took about 1,000 pips thereabouts on this one, and we saw price come back into the entry zone where price started the week at, and we started seeing multiple rejection. We started seeing buying pressure from this area, giving us a clue that buyers will be coming in. We took advantage of that buying pressure, and we were actually stopped out from our position as price broke down that demand zone during the Wednesday trading session. So the early hours of Wednesday trading session, we saw the breakdown of the structure, and remember we saw the retest of structure, and we took advantage of that bearish move as price moved over 1,500 pips in our favor, and we locked in our profit. Remember, we locked in our profit and price moved right back into our entry zone again. So as of yesterday, we identified a sell window right around this area, and the reason why we had the sell window here was simply because of the fact that we saw the breakdown of this demand zone that has been holding price action for some couple of days. So we saw the breakdown of the structure, and from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back, do a retest of structure, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame like a reversal pattern, whatever it is, to join the decline to the downside, and that is exactly what happened here. So we have this sell window identified during the live session yesterday, remember, and we also identify this bearish trend line as our yardstick, and look at it exactly what happened during the New York session yesterday. We saw price come back, do a retest of that sell window, also did a retest of the structure at around the 1,645 and the $1,640 level, respected the bearish trend line. Also, you can see how very important that area has been in the last 24 hours, and price continue to the downside there. So let me show you on the 15 minutes time frame, or probably on the 5 minutes time frame. We saw the reversal pattern there, so you can see we saw structures here like an head and shoulder pattern, which led into us making the decision to sell the XAUUSD one more time. So on the XAUUSD for the week, we are quite very profitable on the XAUUSD. We took advantage of this bullish move. Remember, we took advantage of this bullish move. We took advantage of this bearish move on Tuesday. I think on Wednesday we took advantage of this bearish move, and on Thursday yesterday we took advantage of this bearish move as well. So this one yesterday closed with about 2,700 pips as price hit our take profit target around the $1,618 level. So with the current structure we have here, after taking our profit here, do we still have a situation where the market is going to give us another opportunity to join the decline to the downside on this one? Well, let's take a dive into the higher time frame. Let's see what is really going on in this market, and let's come back here to see if, for those who missed out on the opportunity we took advantage of yesterday, let's see if the market is going to be giving us a second chance to join a potential decline to the downside. So before I go into the higher time frame, what I'll be doing here is to delete all this word, as this is no longer relevant at this point. So let's have a very clean chart. So I'll be deleting this, delete this, and delete this one. I think the 1,660 level is no longer relevant at this point, so we delete that one also. And what do we have? Okay, so we have the bearish trend line, which is still very, very valid for us to guide our bearish momentum in the nearest future. So let's see what is happening on the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, what do we have? So on the daily time frame, the first thing we'll definitely have observed was that, let me delete this, I no longer need this. Okay, so the first thing we would observe on the daily time frame is that price action has been on a strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, and as a result of this, we were able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line. And look at what happened a couple of weeks ago. We saw price come back to do a retest of that bearish trend line, which we also took advantage of, remember. And price since in the last 2 weeks now has been trending to the downside from that area. Now, in addition to the current structure that I was able to identify here, was this $1,680 level. Look at the $1,680 level. If we go to the past, we can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action in the past. Look at what we have here in the month of July. We saw how buyers gathered around here to push price to the upside in the month of July. Then if we fast forward into the early days of the month of September, we saw attempts by the buyers to push price to the upside, but this was met with strong resistance from the sellers, as we saw sellers push price to break down that same key level. Price came back to do a retest of that structure, and throughout the month of September, price traded right below the $1,680 level. Now, since the beginning of the month, something interesting happened. We saw bullish momentum that led into a situation where price broke out of that key level one more time, coming back to do a retest of that bearish trend line, and since then price appears to have come to where it started the month. So remember, the month started at around this area and price has come back into that level one more time. So whatever profits they've made during the course, the whatever movement that was made since the beginning of the month was negated immediately by selling pressure as price has come back into where the month started at around the $61,620 level. So what the next thing we are going to be doing here is to identify this level. We can see the first time price came here was during the later part of the month of September. We saw buying pressure coming in from that level, and right now price is right back at that structure. So what we want to be doing here is to first of all identify that area as a possible demand zone right now. So what I'll be doing here is to hold on a second, let's identify that level, let's give it relevance, and we draw let's hold on a second, let me quickly do this. So we have a demand zone, and should we name it a temporary demand zone? I think we should name it a temporary demand zone. Let me call it a temporary one because we are not sure if this level is going to hold temporary. So we have a temporary. Let me give it a white color and place it right inside the box. So we have something like this, and let's give it a black color. So my demand zone are always dark in color. So we have something like this. So we have a temporary demand zone here. So we don't know if this temporary demand zone is going to hold price action today. So today is the last trading day of the week. Well, what I'll be advising us to do here is to remain very patient. We want to see how price action is going to relate to this current structure here in order to make an informed decision of what we want to be doing. So if we are going to be making a decision here, what we are going to be looking for are two things. And so what are the two things we are going to be looking forward to? So the first scenario is that are we going to be seeing a reversal pattern here on lower time frame? That is, we could have a double bottom structure, a inverse head and shoulder pattern, a breakout retest of structure lower time frame to incite a bullish momentum. That is the first scenario we want to be looking at. And then the second scenario is, are we going to be having a situation where price will break down the demand zone here, where a retest of structure lining up with the bearish trend line we identified on the 1 hour time frame will be inciting a trend continuation to the downside. So those are the two scenarios we want to be looking out for today. So we are profitable on the XAUUSD already, so we don't want to be too eager to join any unnecessary position at this point. So patience is hereby required. So we want to be patient enough to wait for that signal to come in. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is really happening here. Then we see if we are open to take a position today, or we probably call it a day for the XAUUSD and wait for next week to join a potential rally or decline. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame and let's see what is really happening here, after which we want to be making a decision. So on the 1 hour time frame here, remember this is the demand zone we identified on the 1 hour time frame, and let's look at the structure we have here. We can see buying pressure coming in around this area. We saw buying pressure yesterday as well. So let's be mindful of what is going on here. So what we're going to be doing is to identify a structure around this area. When we bring out our line chart, what structure can you see here? Well, this is what I can find here. Look at the $1,625 level. You can see how that level. Let me try to. Okay, so we have something like this. So we have the let me give this a purple color. Then we have it labeled $1,625 level, right? I guess we are correct there. So we give it a purple color as well. And then we place this right at the top right hand side of our screen to make it more visible for us to see. So we have something like this already. So we have a structure now. See what happened yesterday. Price respected the $1,625 level, where buyers came in to push price right back into the bearish trend line that we have here, and we saw bearish momentum breaking down that $1,625 level. And since the beginning of today, since the early hours of today, we have started seeing multiple rejection of that area. So what we are going to be looking forward to at this point is price going to continue to the downside around this area? That's in such a way that we have a situation where price price continues like this, breaks down the demand zone, come back, do a retest to structure and send price to the downside? Or are we going to be having a situation where price continues to the upside, retest of structure, breaks out of that bullish bearish trend line, and then incites a trade continuation? Excuse me. Sorry. Let me take some water. So are we going to be having such a situation here? So we don't know yet. So what I'll be advising us here is to remain patient. Let's wait for that bearish signal to happen. So we want to see price break down that demand zone which we identified on the daily time frame significantly well. Then we look out for structures in such a way that price comes back, does a retest of structure, then we could actually join the trend continuation to the downside. And if at any point in time we start seeing bullish momentum here where price breaks above the $1,625 level, remember, we are not getting too excited as this could be a false one that could send price to the downside here. So we don't want to get too excited. So if a breakout happens and then price comes back, if you could join from this bearish trend line after multiple rejection, it will be fine. But as soon as price gets into the $1,625 level, you want to move your stop loss to break even or lock in some profit, as we don't know how price is going to relate to the structure. We could actually see selling buying pressure from this area that will push price to break out of the bearish trend line, or we could see a situation where a trend continuation could happen after breakdown retest of the $1,625 level. So on this one, we want to be patient and let's see how price action is going to relate to the current structure that we have identified here. So we are not in our area at all. We are already profitable on the XAUUSD for this week. So let's stay tuned in and wait for price action to give us that signal to join whatever direction price wants to be moving. So that is that on the XAUUSD. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section as usual, and I will try as much as possible to read through the chat to see if there is anything I can be of help. So quickly, let's move on to the next pair on this one. We are running out of time already, and the next pair we are going to be looking at is the GBPUSD, and the GBPUSD has been doing very fine as well for us since the beginning of the week. Though we were initially bullish on this one, remember at the beginning of the week we took advantage of this move at the breakout retest of this channel. Remember, price was oscillating right within the 1.12500 level and the 1.1200 level at the beginning of the week, and we waited for the breakout retest of the structure to give us a signal that there is a bullish momentum, and we actually took advantage of this move as price came back into the very important structure at the 1.1400 level. Hold on a second, please. I need to attend to some things. Give me like 30 seconds there about, please. Sorry, I'm back. I had to attend to my baby, but things is fine right now. So let's get back into our plans and what our expectations are for today. So, like I was saying earlier, we had a scenario here where we took advantage of a bullish momentum right at the breakout retest of the 1.12500 level. So we had the breakout of the structure, and price came back into this most important key level that we identify at the 1.1400 level. Remember, I showed you this 1.1400 level on the higher time frame at the beginning of this week. Let me run through that one more time so that you can see how significant that level has been in the last 4 to 5 weeks right now. So look at what happened here in the month of September here on the daily time frame. We can see how this level held by buying pressure for some time before we finally saw the breakdown of that structure. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of structure. And that is exactly what happened during a couple of weeks ago. We saw price come back into the 1.1400 level one more time to reject that level, pushing price to the downside. And again, during the course of this week, we saw our price came nearly close to this level. We saw sharp rejection of that 1.1400 level one more time again to incite that, or to give us a clue that the sellers are still very, very strong in this market. So because of this area, I have identified the 1.1400 level as a major determinant of this current market structure. So price trading right below the 1.1400 level tells us something. It tells us that the sellers are very, very strong at this point, as since the later part of the month of September, price has not climbed above the 1.1400 level. And as a result of this setup we identified here, we were looking forward to selling the GBPUSD. Now, scaling back to the 1 hour time frame where we had. So on the 1 hour time frame, what did we see that incited that bearish move that we took advantage of at the beginning of the week? Well, like I told you, we took advantage of this bullish move when we saw the breakout retest of the structure. But one thing that caught our attention was the rejection of the 1.1400 level, where price evolved into another reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. So we saw price come back here to the 1.14. Buying attempts to push price right above the 1.14 was met with strong resistance from the sellers, as price was unable to break the previous high. And as a result of this, price has evolved into a reversal pattern. Then we said, okay, fine, we need to have a neckline that will be guiding our actions. So we have a neckline at the 1.13500 level, which served as the neckline of this reversal pattern, and we are waiting for that signal to happen. Now, the signal happened in the form of the breakdown retest of that structure. So we had the breakdown giving us a signal that bearish momentum is coming in. Then price came back to do, in fact, multiple rejection of that neckline, giving us a clue that the sellers are coming in to stay. And we joined the decline here. I had two positions running. The first one was here initially, and the second scenario was at this point, and price climbed down, plunged down to around the 1.1200 level during the course of yesterday's trading session. And what happened yesterday was that I told you that we should be moving our stop loss to somewhere right above the 1.12500 area so that we can protect our position against any sudden pullback, considering the fact that we saw bullish buy pressure coming in around the 1.1200 level. And this is exactly what happened during the course of the New York session yesterday, as we saw price climb right back into our entry zone. And as soon as price came into our entry zone here again, we plan to join the decline after citing reversal patterns on lower time frame. So we saw reversal patterns here on our 5, 10, 15 minutes time frame, and then we took advantage of this move to the downside, and currently price is running, our position is running with about a minimum of, let's say, 200 pips thereabout on this one. And since we had the scenario yesterday, price has continued to move to the downside. The next thing I'll be saying right now is to move your stop loss to protect your position at this point in time. So stop loss should be somewhere around above the 1.1200 level at the meantime, so we lock in some profit in case price moves against us. Now, for those who had missed out on this opportunity that we took advantage of at the beginning of the week, Well, one thing I'll be saying right now is that let's see if the market is going to give us a second chance. And if you remember vividly what parameters I illustrated here that will be guiding our actions for this week. That is this bearish trend line that we identified here. And as you can see, since the beginning of the week, price has consistently respected that bearish trend line here, though we had a false breakout around this area and price um, came back below it, retested it a couple of times again in the last 24 hours. So one thing I'll be saying here is for those who actually missed out on this move, well, let's see if the market is going to give us a second chance where the 1.1200 area will be serving as our yardstick for adding more position to this existing trade. So let's see if price is going to do a retest of structure in such a way that we have price come back into either the 1.1200 level or probably the bearish trend line, after which we look out for selling pressure around this area to join the trend continuation to the downside. So that is how we intend to be trading the GBPUSD for today. So if you have any question, please feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. So moving on to the next pair. The next pair we are going to be looking at is the USDJPY, and the USDJPY has been doing massively well in the last 1 week now. So since last week, we've been enjoying this buy pressure since last week. Remember, we have the scenario where price has continued to trade to the upside. So we have a situation where price was within a consolidation phase around the 145 Japanese yen level. So we took advantage of this move on Tuesday last week, and price has continued to climb to the high side. So we took another one at the breakout retest of the 147, and we took another one at the breakout retest of the 148.450, and then we took another one here, and as at yesterday, another one was taken at this point. So let's quickly run through how we planned yesterday's trade. So as at yesterday, what were we looking at as at yesterday? So let's zoom in. Let me zoom let's zoom into the charts. I can't find my mouse. All right, my mouse is back. Okay. So this is what we have here on the 1 hour time frame on the GPU. And remember how I told you how important it is that we'll continue to extend our TP as price action moves in our favor. So this is what happened yesterday. We were around here yesterday when we saw this the structure here where price we started seeing selling pressure around the 150 Japanese yen level, and we said, okay, fine, if this level turns out to be a reversal pattern, then if a breakdown of the bullish trend line happens, then we want to be looking forward to looking forward to price action coming right back into the 149.250 area for the trend continuation to the upside, or probably this bullish trend line here, looking out for buying pressure to push price to the upside at this point. But that did not happen. We saw the breakdown of the trend line here, and as at this point yesterday, I was stopped out in my position, and at this point I said, okay, fine, since price breaks down this level, let's see how far this breakdown is going to go. But unfortunately for us, sorry, price came back right above the 150 Japanese yen level as projected yesterday. So we saw the breakout of that structure. Price came back to do a retest of the 150 to push price to the upside at this point. And since then, price has continued to climb to the upside. Hold on a second. How did I do that? Okay, so price continued to climb to the upside from that area. And right now, my take profit target has been adjusted to 152. So what I'll be doing right now, since price has climbed into the 151 Japanese yen level, I want to be extending it further into the 152 Japanese yen level, whereby moving my stop loss to somewhere around the 150.500 area at this point in time. So for those who took advantage of this move yesterday, kudos to you for being on standby to be able to identify that opportunity when it finally came. So that is that on the USDJPY. Well, for those who missed out on this move, let's see if the market is going to give us a second chance. Well, with the current structure I'm seeing right now, and considering the fact that we are heading into the end of the week, I think that this bullish momentum will continue to run to the upside. But if at any point in time we have a situation where price comes back into this bullish trend line, then definitely multiple rejection of this level, that is buying pressure from this area, will be inciting that we can add more position to this existing trade. Or if you are not in this trade, you want to join at a retest of structure. But the way things are looking, I'm not sure if that is going to happen. But if it does happen, please and please, you want to get ready to join the rally from that area. So currently, the breakout rate of the 150 Japanese yen level that we identified yesterday, if you are taking advantage of it, we will definitely be in about 130 pips in profit at this point. So once again, congratulations for you for taking advantage of that opportunity at that point. So that's that on the USDJPY. If you have questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. So let's see the Euro USD and call it a day. So on the Euro USD yesterday, we looked forward to we identified a bullish momentum yesterday on the Euro USD. And one thing, okay, let's start. How did the week start with the Euro USD for us? So at the beginning of the week, we saw price did a consolidation around this area between the 0.97200 area and the 0.97500 area before we cited the breakout retest of that structure on lower time frame. And remember, we took advantage of this bullish move at the breakout of the 0.97500 area as price climbed right into the 0.98700 dollar level. So we took about 120 pips on the first trade we took on Monday on the Euro USD. And when we cited the selling pressure around the 0.98700, we started thinking that this is might likely incite a retracement phase, which is going to be the retracement phase of this impulsive move. So as a result of that, we were able to identify a buy zone around here where we said if we see buying pressure around this area, we want to join another rally to the upside, which might be the second wave of that bullish momentum. And in addition to that, I told those who love doing counter trend trades and probably scalpers that if a breakdown of the 0.98300 level happen, that is for those who love scalping, if a breakdown of the 0.98300 level retest of structure happens, you want to join the decline and price move about 70 to 80 pips in the favor as they took their profit around this area. So yesterday we were looking forward to bullish momentum after citing the multiple rejection of the 0.98750 level. Remember, that was the level that was broken at the beginning of the week, and we said if price continues to the upside from there, we want to be joining the rally. And that's exactly what happened. Price moved about 70 pips in our direction before we started seeing that bearish momentum. And as a result of that, when price moved in our favor, definitely we were supposed to move our stop loss to protect our position or lock in some profit at that point. So you would not have been lost, you would not have been stopped out in a loss at that point. So now in the last 24 hours, something interesting happened for the dollar. As we can see, dollar continued to increase in value in the last 72 hours all across the major pairs. And the same thing is happening here on the Euro USD as we saw how the 0.97950 area. Let me delete all this as this is no longer relevant at this point so that we can have a clean chart. So this is no longer relevant, this is no longer relevant. And the buy zone here doesn't appear to be relevant anymore. So this is what we have here. So since price broke down the 0.97950 level, we started seeing selling pressure right around that area. Price came into this level, and then on lower time frame we saw reversal pattern, and I was able to join the decline from that 0.97950 dollar level. If you are taking advantage of that move at this point, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. And for those who took it right from this area, well done for taking such move. And the next thing I'll be saying right now is to move your stop loss to protect your position at your own desired take profit area. So now that we have the scenario and we have taken advantage of this move, and for those who did missed out on this opportunity, well, I want to be telling you that let's look at how price action is going to relate to the 0.97500 level in the New York session today, and that will determine if we are going to be joining the decline. So if we are going to be seeing, we already have a breakdown of the structure. So let's see if price has already broken down the structure. Let's see what's going to happen. Is price going to come back into the structure where we start seeing selling pressure one more time on our lower time frame? Then we could actually join right below the 0.97500 area. That is add more position if you are still in this trade. And for those who are not in this trade, you might likely want to join from that area. And where will our take profit target be? Well, remember we have a very solid demand zone around this area on the higher time frame. So we have our demand zone around that area, which will be dovetailing to about 140 pips for those who took it from the 0.97950. And for those who are going to be taking it from below the 0.97500, we should be having a minimum of 100 pips thereabouts on this one. So let's see how price action plays out in the next 24 hours. And by Monday, we'll be coming here to do a review of what we shall be expecting for the new week. So that is that on the Euro USD. For those who missed out on the early period of the session, let's quickly do a recap of what we talked about so far today before we finally call it a day. So the first pair we looked at today was the US oil. And what did we see on the US oil? So on the US oil, what we saw on the US oil was quite interesting, as we saw that price has been trading right below the $86 level since the beginning of this week. So it shows us how important that $86 level has been. Excuse me. Has been since the beginning of the week. We saw our price has been consolidating between the $86 level and $85 level, and we saw this bearish signal in the form of a breakdown of the $85 level right back into the $82 mark. And as a result of this this reversal pattern here, we were actually looking forward to a buying opportunity as we saw the breakout of the neckline of that reversal pattern at the $84 mark. And look at what happened in the last 24 hours. We saw our price climb back into the $86 level. Price came back into our entry zone. And what are we seeing here? We begin to see buying pressure around this area, which might likely send price going to the upside from this point. And what I said here is that let us use the neckline here to guide our action. So if price breaks down, we can see we already have a breakdown of the $84 mark and does a retest of that $84 mark we want to be selling. But what we have here right now is that price has climbed above the $84 mark, and what I will be looking forward to if I were you at this point is to be looking for buying opportunity on this one. As long as price remains above the $84 level, I want to be buying the US oil. So let's see if we're going to be having a situation where price will come do a retracement of this impulsive move. So we have this impulsive move right now. So let's see if price is going to do a retracement facing something like this, and before we join the decline, the rally to the upside. But if that does not happen, and we start seeing multiple rejection of this trend line, that is, we see a reversal pattern here, it might turn out to be a bearish momentum. But if that happens, what I'll be suggesting us to do here is that, remember, we have this bullish trend line rather, and we have the trend line broken around this area during the course of yesterday, and this might likely turn out to be a retracement of that bullish trend line. So what we're going to be doing here is this: if we start seeing selling pressure around this area, what I'll be advising that we can sell, and then as soon as price comes into the $84 mark area, move your stop loss to break even, protect your position, as we don't know if price is going to come back and retest this $84 mark to push price to the upside. And if price does not do that and it breaks down the $84 mark, then we are comfortable in our sell position as we look forward to add more position at a retest of that structure. So that is how we want to trade the US oil for today. Then we went on to talk about the US tech, where I told you that it's we need to be very patient on this one, though we took advantage of a bullish momentum yesterday, and price came back into our entry points after we closed out with some profit on this one. And right now we have price action right around the very important and strong psychological level at the $11,000 mark, and we can see buying pressure started here yesterday, and we saw a breakdown of that structure, retest of that structure, retest of that structure again one more time. So we don't know if this is going to send price crashing to the downside, and if it does, I identified the $10,950 area here where I said this bearish momentum is not going to be I'm not going to be seen as a long-term one. So if you are a scalper, you want to take advantage of that, have your take profit target at around the 10,000, 10,000, what is that? $10,750 area. But if for me as a long-term trader like me, well, what I'll be waiting for is to wait for a bullish structure, and that structure will come in two ways. That is, one, we have a situation where price comes into the $10,750 area and we start looking out for reversal pattern or buying pressure on our lower time frame. Then we want to be joining the rally to the upside. And the second scenario is if price breaks above the $11,000 level, a retest to structure, buying pressure around this area, then we want to be joining the rally to the upside. So on this one, I'm still looking forward to buying pressure here. I remember the week started on a bullish note. We had a structure here where price started the week, moved up into the $11,300 level, and then this move to me looks more like a retracement of that impulsive move that started the week. So let's see how this is going to go. Are we going to be having a breakout of the 11,000 to push price to the upside, or are we going to be having a situation where price will come into the 10,750 area to push price to the upside? So that is what I'm looking forward to on the US tech. Now we moved on to talk about the gold, which I told you how we took profit on the gold yesterday. We took about 3,000 pips in profit yesterday after making some money at the beginning of the week. And with the current structure we have here, I was able to identify the $1,625 level. And when we went to the daily time frame, we noticed that price action is at a very critical point in this market. Look at what we have here on the daily time frame. The last time price came into the $1,650 level was in the month of September, and we saw when price came here, we saw bullish move from that area that pushed price into the bearish trend line. And what we said is that price is right back at that structure. So we want to know, we want to see how price action is going to relate to this level. Are we going to be having a situation where price will break down the structure, retest of structure to give us an opportunity to join the decline? Or are we going to be having a situation where price action evolves into a reversal pattern here, like a double bottom structure, or inverse head and shoulder pattern to send price going to the upside? So because of this, we scale down to the lower time frame to really see what is happening there. And when we scale down to the lower time frame, what did we see? We saw that price is still within that demand zone which we identified on the daily time frame, and we also have a key level at around the $1,625 level. As we can see, we saw buying pressure from this level yesterday, and then we saw the breakdown during the early hours of today as well, and then we saw selling pressures here initially, but it appears that price is breaking right above that level. So we can't conclude that we already have a breakout yet, as this candle is still about 12 minutes old, I guess, and we need to see how price is going to relate with this $1,625 level before we want to be making a decision. And I made something clear. I said on the XAUUSD, we are very, very profitable on the XAUUSD. So we don't want to jump into any unnecessary trade, as we want to be patient enough to see how price action is going to relate with the structure. So we have two scenarios already, which I shared with you earlier. That is a situation where price breaks above this 1,625 level with a significant engulfing candle. Then remember, we are not getting too excited, as we want to wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of structure that will be giving us a leverage to join the rally to the upside. But if a breakdown of the demand zone happens here, then we want to be looking for selling opportunity at a retest of structure to join the decline to the downside. So that is that on the XAUUSD. Then we went on to talk about the GBPUSD, which has been moving in our favor since the beginning of the week. And the result of this was that at the beginning of the week, we took advantage of this bullish momentum here after price did a retest of the 1.12500 area, as price moved into the 1.1400 level. And after price tested the 1.1400 level, we saw a situation where price evolved into a reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. And with a double top structure, we had our neckline at the 1.13500 area, and we waited for price to break down, do a retest of that neckline before we join the decline to the downside, and price moved significantly well in our favor. Though during the course of yesterday, price came back into our entry point at around the 1.131650, and price moved again in our favor. So in this one, we are in profit already. We're running with about how many pips right now? We are running with about 190 pips at the moment. And I told you, lock in your profit at this point in time. Move your stop loss to your desired profit or somewhere right below the 1.12500 area. And we are going to be using this bearish trend line as our yardstick for trading opportunities during the New York session today. So for those who missed out on this opportunity yesterday, let's see if the market is going to give us a second chance in the form of a retest of either the 1.1200 level or the bearish trend line here, where we look out for selling pressures on lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. And if you are still in the trade, you want to add more position at a retest of that structure. So we moved on to talk about the USDJPY, which has been in profit for us in the last 2 weeks now. So since last week, we've been enjoying this move right from the 145 Japanese yen level, and price has consistently respected that bullish trend line to give us more profit on the USD JPY, and we continue to extend our TP accordingly as price action moves in our favor. So as at yesterday, I told you how this 150 Japanese yen level is important for us, as I told you that we should be looking forward to a breakout retest of that level to join had more position to our existing trade on this one. So, and that's exactly what has happened in the last 24 hours. And currently, we are running in profit of about 150 pips approximately on this one. And I told you that we will continue to extend our TP as price action moves in our favor. And if price gets into the 152 Japanese yen level, I want to extend my TP into the 153 level and move my stop loss accordingly to protect my position against any reversal structure that might be happening here. And for those who missed out on this trade yesterday, what I told you was that let's be patient enough and see if the market is going to give us a second chance, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of this bullish trend line. So if price comes within this bullish trend line, well, we look out for buying pressures here on lower time frame, then we could join the rally to the upside from that point. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to on the USDJPY for today. Then we went on to close the day with the EURUSD, which is in profit already after being stopped out from our buy position at a minimal profit. Then we saw the breakdown retest of the 0.97950 area during the course of the New York session. So we saw the breakdown of that level. Price came back to do a retest of structure and we joined. And I told you that you should be moving your stop loss to lock in some profit at this point in time. And one thing I said about the 0.97500, for those who are not part of this trade yesterday that didn't take advantage, it appears the market is giving us a second chance right now as we have a breakdown retest of that structure. So let's see how this price is going to relate to the structure at the 0.97500 so we can join the decline to the downside. So if you are in this trade yesterday, you might want to add more position to your trade at below the 0.97500, and if you are not, you are just joining us here, well, below the 0.97500 is looking promising to join the decline to the downside on the EURUSD, with the take profit target sitting right around the demand zone that we identified on the daily time frame. Remember, we had a demand zone. Let me show you. So we had a demand zone on the daily time frame here. So we are going to be looking at that area in the meantime to see if we're going to be having bullish momentum from that area. So that is what we are going to be looking forward to on the EURUSD. I hope I was able to simulate all the different scenarios that is likely going to be happening, all the pairs that we talked about today. So thank you for being around. I really appreciate every single moment I had with you guys. So I look forward to seeing you again on Monday so that we can come again to analyze the market and get ourselves prepared for the new week. My advice again is this: lock in your position, ensure that you've moved your stop loss accordingly to whatever never trade you have right now, as we are the last day of the trading week and anything could actually happen. And also remember, very important, whenever a signal happens, that is, we have a breakout of structure in the form of a breakout, maybe it could be an engulfing candle breaking out of structure, it's just a signal. We want to be patient enough to wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of that structure before we want to be joining that potential decline or rally at that point. And if price does not come back to give us a retest of structure, well, for confirmation's sake, well, let's pass that trade. There are quite a lot of opportunities in the financial market that we could actually take advantage of. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and also I want to wish you a wonderful weekend, and I hope you enjoy it as always. Thank you very much for being around. I look forward to seeing you on Monday, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. Bye bye.